war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars. And it's been said if we lose that war, and in so doing lose this way of freedom of ours, history will record with the greatest astonishment that those who had the most to lose did the least to prevent its happening.
We, the people, tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. Our Constitution is a document in which we, the people, tell the government what it is allowed to do. A man is not free unless government is limited. And informed patriotism is what we want. But still watch closely. And don't be afraid to see what you see.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it.
When in hell are all you people going to wake up?
Moretti Underground, the Liberty Report.
Well, hello, America. Welcome to the Monday, September 22nd, 2014 edition of Moretti Underground, the Liberty Report, the best news and commentary on the web. I'm your host, Joanne Moretti. And my wonderful new co-host, Scott, is here with me, too, and would like to thank you for tuning in. Thank you. We appreciate you. We're broadcasting live from PRN Radio Network, the exclusive home of the Watchmen of America. Way to go, Watchmen. Our call-in number, as always, is 714-888-7404. And also, check out our cool chat rooms at both Blog Talk Radio and right here at PRN. Our fantastic colleagues, Lynn, Famous Anna, and AstroTurf are in the chat rooms. They put all the links to our sources and reports in there. And that's a courtesy, too, so please say hi to them when you get over there. Lynn, Anna, and AstroTurf, as well as our other correspondents, are working hard to keep us all informed. The research and articles are incredible. A couple of them even have their own web newspapers. So thank you guys for being on our team. Today we have a lot of news to get to. The world's in turmoil, as you know, and we have to sort through all the mire to get to the truth. We're going to be discussing everything from ISIS to war, politics, the economy, and health crises. But before we get to that, we must first do our disclaimer. That's just to let the feds, FCC, NSA, and anyone else who might be interested know that anything said on this show is solely my responsibility and not that of our amazing sponsors, the Watchmen of America and PRN. The disclaimer goes like this. The comments made by hosts and or guest hosts or phone callers of the PRN radio network do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints, ideology, beliefs, or anything else for that matter, of members of the Watchmen of America program or the Patriot Resistance website, either in past, present, or future broadcasts. All right, well, now that we have that out of the way, let me introduce my great co-host, Scott, and then we'll get this party started. Welcome, Scott.
Not going to try that last name, huh, Joanne?
Yeah, I know your last name. I just wanted to put it out there. Scott Ferraro.
Almost. I'm just kidding you. How you doing tonight?
Not too bad, my friend. Not too bad. I want to remind everybody, our former co-host JoJo is still around. She's a candidate now in her district, so she can't do all that political stuff, but she's still a medical expert, and she can do correspondence. So she's now a medical correspondent. And I also want to ask everybody, keep Marine Sergeant Tamarisi in your prayers, all right? He's the one that's still trapped down in there in Mexico. Everybody else can get over the border but him. So please keep him in your prayers and on your lips, too. Make a lot of noise for him. Anything you want to bring up before we start the news?
Well, the Marine from Mexico might be getting lucky pretty soon.
You think so?
Because there was just a story on Fox about them working behind the scenes trying to get him released. So hopefully that'll materialize pretty soon. It's been too long.
Yeah, well, I hope so. There's a lot of people. Hey, did you see the story the other day about the White House fence jumper? Actually, there was a couple of them. But the one in particular, he made it all the way inside the White House.
Yeah, I'd like to know how that happens. They got snipers on the roof with binoculars. Now, I realize that they may be smoking weed with Willie Nelson or, Jay-Z or something, but they're still watching. If somebody touches that fence, they could release the hounds or be on him before he could even get halfway up that. So it's probably just so they could do, issue in some TSA-type cavity searches for the visitors and wherever else they want.
Oh, funny you should mention that because they're already talking about setting up checkpoints. Another of our correspondents, Jesse, it's his birthday today, by the way, he was saying that. He said that that's probably what they want. They want to up the security, and like every good dictator, he wants his own elite guard. There's no reason that guy made it all the way. And now, did you see all the stuff they're hammering on him, too? They're saying he had 800 rounds of ammunition and a couple of hatchets and a machete in his car. I got to ask everybody, what combat veteran who has 800 rounds in the car, a couple of hatchets and a machete, leaves that stuff in the car when you jump the White House fence? All right? Doesn't do you any good in the car. He wasn't there to hurt the president. The first story was that he had a 4-inch pocket knife. Knives up to 6 inches are illegal in D.C. So a 4-inch knife is not illegal. Guy says he was going to warn the president that there's a collapse coming, and he had to know about it, so he was going there to tell the president what was going on. But, I think you're right, Scott. I think this is a setup because he got over the fence, all the way across the lawn, into the double doors, and like you said, snipers on the roof. There's guards everywhere. There's dogs everywhere. If you saw the guy that jumped the fence earlier in the day, the guy in the shorts with the orange hat, they were on him fast. Even a baby last week, a little 2-year-old, got through the fence and caused a security lockdown. They were all over him, and he was just a baby, So how'd this guy make it? Big guy, too.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Just more stage terror.
Yeah,
bring in something new.
Yeah, well, he got all the way inside the mansion. But, according to the complaint filed in the federal court, his name is Omar J. Gonzalez. All right, how many white guys you know named Omar Gonzalez?
0.
All right, that's, 0 is pretty much, and he's from Texas. What are they going to tell us next? He had a Gadsden flag in his pocket, and he's a member of the Tea Party?
Pocket Constitution, NRA membership in his wallet.
Yeah, all of that. So I think it's a setup. Maybe Obama wants a moat and some alligators in the moat. Remember he said that about the border?
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, well, like every good dictator, they have their own elite guard. So maybe that's what he wants. But, now they're talking about they put up a fence, then they put up barriers, and now they're talking about putting up checkpoints. Are you kidding me? There was a story last week about some towers, some mystery towers that have turned up around the D.C. area, and nobody seems to know what they are. Oh, all right. We're buying that one too, right?
Yeah, it's
in
DHS, NSA spying, which basically is why people like Paul Ryan does a 180, and all of a sudden he sounds more like I don't know, Joe Biden than he does anybody from the GOP.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they're telling
you
towers
can't
nobody
just
knows.
roll up. You just can't roll up and put one of those towers up in Washington, D.C. without them knowing what you're doing.
Wouldn't you need a permit for that?
No, you can't even put a lemonade stand on the corner. Okay.
You can't hang a
They're shutting
sign over
down.
the sidewalk. You know, and NSA, FBI, CIA, they're all located in D.C. along with the military and everybody in the government. Nobody knows what's going on. Yeah, so those must be something nefarious that they don't want us to know about. You know, this fence jumping thing's got me, though. I think that there's something more to this, unless it's a message from the Secret Service that, you know, because he's forever kicking them around. You see how many he got rid of.
And they don't even, you know, they pay him about as much as you get for working at McDonald's. You know,
yeah,
I mean, they
real.
don't get paid a lot of money. I don't think he's going to worry about it unless they start jumping the fence at the golf court, the golf course.
Yeah, really.
Then
you know, and Michelle, she had already gone to allegedly Camp David by herself, the government retreat, and he left with the girls. So they never traveled together either. I don't think she even wants to be seen in public with him. But
yeah, why? I wonder why they make such a lovely couple.
I think it's mutual. But you know, it was a big deal. But you know, the Secret Service, they are very, very efficient. So this is either a setup or a setup.
And it could be just to get the media to start talking about something else other than his dismal approval over this ISIS thing. He's got generals coming out talking about what an idiot he is, and you know how his policy is going to fail miserably. And so this is a way to get the media to talk about something else.
That's true too. Yeah. Oh, poor pitiful Obama. He had a break-in. He doesn't say a word when people jump the fence into the country. You know, now all of a sudden it's a problem. The different fence jumpers. Well, Mr. Gonzalez, he's actually, if this is by any remote stretch of a chance legit, he's a veteran in crisis. At the very least. You know, if he's really a combat veteran and he did this, then he's in some sort of a mental state. But the word is that he went there to tell the president some message about some collapse, and the president had to be prepared. What I think is he should have waited for the rest of us. We could have all jumped the fence. I'm so sick of what's going on. It's ridiculous, Scott.
I know.
Hey, the military's getting more pink slips. You know, they just relieved 3 commanders off of a battleship. And now there's more pink slips going out. I have a story here in front of me from military.com that just come out today. And it says more soldiers could learn while in Afghanistan that they're being forced out of the military, the Army's top officer said Friday. Army Chief of Staff General Ray Odierno discussed the cuts with reporters Friday at a breakfast in Washington. The notifications, part of an effort to rapidly shrink the size of the ground forces, have drawn heavy criticism from lawmakers. In June, more than 1,100 Army captains were notified that their military careers would soon end. It was later revealed that 48 were serving in Afghanistan when they were informed that they were getting the axe. The men and women deployed overseas have left their homes and families to fight for our country, Representative Tom Cotton of Arizona said in a written statement in July. It's deplorable the Obama administration would treat them this way. More separation notifications went out to 550 Army majors last month, and early retirement boards for lieutenant colonels and colonels are scheduled next year. There may be officers deployed to Afghanistan that get notified, according to the Army spokeswoman. Service officials say the moves are unfortunate but necessary as the service is forced to shrink due to budget constraints. Unfortunately, some people now are being let go, have done a very good job. But with the downsizing, we no longer can keep them, Odierno said. Can you imagine that? And they're blaming it on sequestration. Now, the military is a third of the budget, but they took half the cuts in sequestration. So, you know, they're getting really axed. Odierno, he's one of the ones that Scott just mentioned, came out against Obama, too. So why are they shrinking the military? Why are they pulling back all the brass, the majors, the sergeants, the colonels? This why are we getting rid of our military? Does anybody have a really good idea, considering that World War III is at our doorstep and Obama's starting it? Are we going to have those
notches? This is how he does it. You know.
Yeah. Well, is he going to start arming
their morale? Destroys their morale by having them fight with the enemy. He sends them over to fight viruses. Sends more to fight viruses than he does the enemy. I mean, you know, what a way to ruin an army than to make them sick and miserable.
Yeah, well, this man is single-handedly destroying the best military in the world. I think we better stop paying attention to this because we are in a world of trouble. And then he's training, like Afghan soldiers. There were 5 Afghan soldiers who went missing over the last week from Cape Cod. There's 200 total being trained down there. This is some sort of a confab they got going on down there. And they're training all of these military brass from Afghanistan, Pakistan. I mean, you got a bunch of them down there in Cape Cod. 2 disappeared last week, but they were located in Buffalo, New York. Now,
think about that. Think about that. These are the same type of soldiers that turn their guns on our guys over there, shoot them in the back, and they're allowed to come over here, go to the mall, of all places, go to a mall, and just do whatever they want. You know, isn't it against the Constitution somewhere about foreign troops on our soil? Yeah, they forgot about that decades ago.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the foreign troops on our soil, but then they let them just wander off. Now, today, the 19th, they found 2 of them, like I said, in Buffalo, New York, and then 3 more disappeared over the weekend from the Cape. And they were allegedly looking for them, but then I saw a story this morning that said, well, the Massachusetts State Police and the military are not actually looking for them because they haven't broken any laws. And a few minutes after I saw that story, it come out that they were caught trying to get over the Rainbow Bridge into Canada, up near Niagara Falls. So what's going on up there in upstate New York? The 2 of them took off to Buffalo, and these ones went off to Niagara Falls. Is there some sort of an underground running up there? How would they know to all go to that same area? And last week we had one of our contacts told us that she had been up in that area, and there was a whole Muslim enclave going on. She ended up getting robbed, lost some of her possessions and stuff, and got some seriously dirty looks from the people who were up there. But, you know, she noticed that last week, and now these people disappear off to that exact same area that she was in. Something going on up there.
Yep.
So I think that we should pay attention to that. But these ones here, they were found they did get into Canada. As a matter of fact, the Canadians have custody of them. So I don't know how that's going to work out, Scott. You know, what happens with them now? Does Canada keep them? Do they send them back to the Cape? I don't know what they do.
Back to the military base.
You think so?
And face AWOL charges unless, that doesn't apply to them.
Yeah, well, if Canada has custody of them and they have really lax amnesty rules up there, maybe Canada's going to keep them.
Well,
I don't know how this is going to play out.
Lately, Canada's been revoking their visas or whatever and sending them back. So they're taking a harder line now. There's quite a few up there in Canada.
Our Mideast correspondent, Color Me Red, put a link into our chat room a minute ago saying that there's a loaded rocket launcher that was found in British Columbia. The M72 self-propelled rocket launcher, which was loaded with a live rocket grenade, was found Thursday afternoon in a clearing just off Highway 1 on southern Vancouver Island. So, anybody lose a rocket launcher? Unbelievable.
Yeah, something else.
Yeah, and they have really strict gun control laws up there. I guess the criminals obey the...
If it was a New Yorker with a John Deere hat on and he had 6 bullets in his magazine, they'd be all over that.
Yeah, well, like Mr. Omar Gonzalez there at the White House. He had 800 rounds on him. What was he going to do? Throw them very, very fast?
Yeah.
You know, they didn't find any gun. The rounds aren't any good without a gun, right?
Right.
I don't know. This story's messed up. All of it's messed up. And it's getting worse. Do you know who our dear leader is getting advice from on which rebels to arm? Check this story out from Weasel Zippers. White House meets with Syrian American who openly sympathizes with al-Nusra Front on the best way to arm the rebels. This is from IPT. Fresh from congressional approval to arm and train Syrian rebel groups fighting the vicious Islamic State terrorist group, the White House met this week with Syrian American advocates to discuss how to proceed. But one of the people consulted is on record defending and sympathizing with Syrian rebels tied to al-Qaeda. Mohammed Allah Ghanim, Government Relations Director for the Syrian American Council, touted his White House visit on his Facebook page Thursday. Last November, Ghanim wrote about a trip to Doha, where he got to meet Sheikh Youssef al-Qaradawi, the spiritual guide to the Muslim Brotherhood, who has endorsed attacks against American troops in Iraq and suicide bombings against Israelis. I love this appreciated scholar very much, Ghanim wrote. Even I adore his jurisprudence. I consider this a great honor. Now I am over the moon. Qaradawi has been banned from entering the United States and the United Kingdom due to his support for terrorism. But that's not the only time Ghanim has praised jihadists. In December 2012, Ghanim wrote a column in the Washington Post in which he criticizes the United States for classifying Jabhat al-Nusra as a terrorist organization. Sure, many Jabhat leaders are ideological on par with al-Qaeda, he wrote, but not all of its members share that view, and the group has achieved military successes and has delivered critical civilian aid. So here's the guy who's praising Qaradawi and al-Nusra, and Obama's asking him for advice on which Syrian rebels to arm.
And
What
he's
could go
ignoring
wrong?
the advice of, and he's ignoring the advice of our generals. At the same time.
You know, Scott, he doesn't hear our generals. He doesn't hear us. He doesn't need or want their briefings. He has his own team that he listens to, and he never
he doesn't
strays.
want to win.
No.
He's
He
going
doesn't want
after
to win.
Syria. You know, he's going after Syria, and that's the bottom line.
That is the bottom line. That's exactly the bottom line. It only stands to reason. If he is only going to do airstrikes, that's using our U.S. pilots for those strikes, because ISIS doesn't have any planes. They're telling us that it's going to take 6 months to a year to train the rebels that he wants to arm. So for the next 6 months to a year, he's going to do what? Take out Assad's air defenses so that ISIS can move right in and overthrow Assad and take over Syria? There won't be any U.S. combat boots to stop him. So
That's what he
that
wants.
would that not be treason? When he laid out his plan the other day, he told them there's not going to be any boots on the ground, so they don't have to worry about that. He told them about the 6 months to a year to train, so they don't have to worry about that. He told them that he was going to strike inside Syria against Assad's air defenses. So the way I look at it, and he's going to arm them too. He's going to arm these rebels. So they're going to get weapons, they're going to get air support, and they're going to have a wide open pathway into Syria. And
well, he's already
there'll be
He's already given them 600 tons of weapons, according to Rand Paul.
Yeah, well,
we had a
saw
rant
that. They were
about
coming
that
out of
the other
Libya.
day.
You know, these rebels he wants to arm, by the way, they are not even Syrian. They're transnationals. The same people that he had fighting in Egypt, and he had them fighting in Libya. Those are the same people. He picked up 600 of them and dropped them into Syria. A year ago, we talked about it on the show many times, about those transnational fighters that were put into Syria to start this trouble.
That's what they do. They go in to destabilize the country. First it was Libya, then it was Iraq, and now it's going to be Syria.
Yeah.
Like a cookie-cutter plan.
All right, so now, is this treason? And if it's treason for arming the enemy, then he is forcing our U.S. pilots to commit treason too.
He does it every 15 minutes, though, one way or another. No.
You know, and where is
new.
the U.S. generals on this? I know some of them are speaking up. You know, I mean, there's actually a bunch of them. But, you know, they need a no-confidence vote with the Joint Chiefs, and then they need to strip him of his command because he's going to get them all killed, and he's forcing pilots to commit treason. I'm not real happy about this. I have a story right here from Katie
Just
Savage.
following orders didn't save him in the Nuremberg trials.
Yeah, that ain't going to
You
cut
can't
it
say
there.
I was just following orders. That doesn't work.
Yeah, and what type of cross-border authority do we have? And do we have status of forces agreement that they're not going to get into any legal conflicts with these countries? And what about Syria? And what about Putin and Assad and the Iranians? You know, Putin told them don't even think about it.
Don't forget, a Chinese battleship just docked in Iran, and they're not there for the sushi or the Peking duck. I guess it's now Beijing duck, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I bet you Putin's packing a few surprises, too. You know, we just intercepted 8 of Putin's planes up in Alaska. You know, they were doing some recon. You know, testing the waters, see how far inside they could get. They got all the way over Alaska before they were even escorted. You know, and that they had to push Obama to do it.
The night watchman is asleep. You know, when you have a president this weak, these countries would be crazy not to go for broke.
Yeah.
And they are. They're testing every border, every, everything we have to see the response time. Just in case.
There are some U.S. boots on the ground. They're the alleged trainers. But if you're going to do airstrikes, you need some ground people to direct the strikes. So, what's her name there? Harf. She was asked, what if our troops are fired on? And she said, well, then they could probably fire back. They have to wait until they're fired on. They can't.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and what about the green on blue? He's going to arm everybody, but he's going to tie soldiers' hands?
That's the new rules of engagement. And that's why military deaths under him have went up about 400%.
Yeah, I'm getting real sick. I'm getting real sick of people trying to pull it off like this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's some sort of bumbling idiot. No, he isn't. He's shrewd.
Where's Code Pink? Where's Code Pink and all the anti-war people?
Yeah, they were
Code
there
Pink
for
is
Kerry.
a Democrat, right?
Well, no, the Code Pinkos, they were at the Kerry speech the other day. But I'm sure they were invited. It's not like you can't tell who Jody Evans and Medea Benjamin are. And they were right there, I mean, everybody knows their faces. But still, he's very shrewd, and he has his own people telling him what he should be doing, and he never, ever strays from his agenda. When he's asked about it, what do you think about all these people talking bad about you? He says, oh, they're just noise. Just noise?
That's a typical sociopath mind. Psychopath mind, actually. You have a goal. That's all that matters. You don't care what people say about you. You don't care who it hurts. You have no remorse and no sympathy for anyone. As long as you're getting done what you want to get done, that's all that matters.
Unbelievable. And then you got generals like Mad Dog Mattis and Odiemo, who is currently a general. Mattis is a retired general. You got General Lloyd Austin, Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North. You got General McInerney, General Vallely, General Boykin, General Keane, all flipping out. That's not just one or two generals. That's like all of them.
No, I know. And, the ones, that's why he's purging most of them, putting in his own people, the ones that'll do whatever he says. One of them he put in charge he was the one who a while back apologized to Muslims for attacking him. What kind of an army general apologizes to the enemy?
Yeah, well, we got
Can
another
you
problem,
imagine that
too.
during World War II? You know, hi, we're really sorry. We killed some Nazis. We'll try to tone it down a little bit next time.
Yeah, really.
I mean, what kind of, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, you don't apologize. You just make amends and move on, whatever. We even have a German general who is now Army Chief of Staff in our Euro Command. We have a foreign general commanding our military. What?
Germany.
And then next week, isn't either him or Kerry going to chair the UN? Is that legal?
No, that goes against the Logan Act and probably a dozen others.
Yeah, well, next week they're chairing the UN General Council. I thought you couldn't serve two masters.
He can do anything he
This
wants.
guy's trying.
He can do anything he wants, and he's setting it up for the next person, if we make it that long, to just be a walk-in dictator right off the get-go.
Yep. I got a couple more ISIS things I want to talk about, too. They just killed 40 Iraqi troops and captured 68 of them. Nice job, Obama. He left no residual force. They weren't fully trained. And these Iraqi soldiers, the ones that didn't lay down their arms and give them to ISIS and join ISIS, they can't even fight. I mean, they got 40 of them killed today and 68 kidnapped. This is from the Associated Press. A wave of suicide bombings by Islamic State militants in western Iraq has killed 40 soldiers amid waning efforts by security forces to retake territory from the Sunni extremist group. The attacks, which occurred on Sunday in the town of Seizure, 70 kilometers west of Baghdad, dealt a heavy blow to government efforts to rein in the militants whose rampage had seized much of the country's north and west this summer. Even as Iraq Kurdish Peshmerga fighters are starting to get trained by Iraqi Western allies in the battle against the Islamic State group. In addition to the 40 troops killed in the suicide bombing, 68 Iraqi soldiers were apparently captured by the Islamic State group in Seizure and have likely been taken to the nearby city of Fallujah, said General Rashid Fleet. There has been no communication with any of the soldiers since their capture Sunday. The militants launched a massive wave of attacks on the Iraqi troops, and they had several suicide bombings and clashes and all kinds of stuff. It says after the attacks, the Iraqi military withdrew 700 more troops stationed in the area. So they just gave it up. But Fallujah, we had taken Fallujah. We had taken all these little cities, and then we didn't leave anybody there to guard them. Against everybody's advice. He didn't want our advice.
Even with Leon Panetta coming out and criticizing him, ABC and NBC still won't report on it.
No.
So...
Wow, Leon Panetta's their darling. He's a far-left liberal,
accountability. Communist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he's a Clintonian, too. So they might be setting up for her.
Like I said, communist.
No, yeah.
Stalinist Alinsky,
definitely.
communist. I mean, you got to say what it is. And they're not even ashamed of it anymore,
No.
Just
ISIS
changed
is
their name a couple of years to something else.
Yeah, well, that's what they do. They change the names to confuse people, but it's still the same thing. Whatever the made-up name of the day is. They were communists, then socialists, then liberals.
Progressive.
Who knows?
Progressive.
Oh, yeah, proggies. That's right, too. That's another one they call themselves. All means the same thing. Communists.
That's right.
ISIS is threatening to kill a French hostage. Gateway Pundit put this out. Pro-ISIS fighters in Algeria released a video today of hostage Hervé Godel, who was kidnapped this weekend. The hostage delivered a message to President François Hollande. I am in the hands of Jund al-Khalifa, an Algerian armed group. This armed group is asking me to ask you, President Hollande, not to intervene in Iraq. They are holding me as a hostage, and I ask you, Mr. President, to do everything to get me out of this bad situation, and I thank you. So the pro-ISIS group gave France 24 hours to stop the aggression, or they're going to behead this dude.
You know, it's pretty sad when the French are making you look weak.
Yeah, really.
I mean, the French are making Obama look even weaker than he already is. That's sad.
Mm-hmm. Now, over the weekend, ISIS was said to have beheaded that other Brit. His name is Alan Henning. You know, the family's still pleading for his release, but there is credible reports saying that he's already been beheaded. So you won't see that on the mainstream media.
You know what people aren't saying? Okay, why did they start doing that all of a sudden? Why did they start to? It was because they gave $5 million for that Bendall or whatever his name was.
Berdall,
they gave $5 million for that hostage, and so they said, well, let's grab a couple more. Maybe we can get another, $20 million out of these.
Yeah, well, all these countries are paying. Allegedly, we didn't pay either, but you know damn well that they didn't do it for nothing. You know, they didn't give back this hostage because there was two groups of Islamists that were involved with Berdall. The first one handed him over to the Taliban. But that first group, they did it out of the goodness of their heart. Of course they got paid. Anybody who doesn't think that the United States handed over millions of dollars to those people needs a reality check. They also...
Well, the joke's on them because the dollar's only worth 12 cents, so...
Yeah, we're going to get to that, too, because there's a lot of money changing going on. ISIS also released an audio broadcasting a green light to go jihad on everybody. CBS News put it out. Billy Welch sent this to me. In an audio recording distributed widely on social media Sunday, Islamist extremist group ISIS urged Muslims globally to launch attacks on civilians in member countries of a U.S.-led coalition opposed to their violent spread through the area of Syria and Iraq. In the nearly 42-minute-long meandering propaganda speech uploaded to Twitter, ISIS spokesman Abu Muhammad al-Adnani encourages Muslims to kill disbelievers in countries including Canada, currently supporting American and French-backed military action against the group in Iraq in any manner. If you can kill a disbelieving American or European, especially the spiteful and filthy French, or an Australian or a Canadian, or any other disbeliever from the disbelievers waging war, including the citizens of countries that have entered into a coalition against the Islamic State, kill him in any manner or any way, however it may be, said Adnani. So, I mean, the thing goes on, and there's all kinds of threats, and, they made other propaganda releases, too, during the beheading videos. But they always come out with these videos after they beheaded somebody. So that's another reason to think that they've already beheaded that Henning guy. They're just not telling.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. There's so much phony news out there and propaganda that you can't tell what's real and what's not anymore.
I hear you. Also, I want to talk about something else that's important. We have Americans, possibly 100 of them, who have left the country to go over and fight on behalf of ISIS. They say that about 40 of them have returned to the United States and currently under FBI surveillance. Well, there's a big movement to strip citizenship from these people and to strip their passports. But the citizenship part is what got me. I don't care if you take their passports away. I don't want them traveling around the world anyhow if they're going to be killing people. But citizenship, guys, we got to be careful. It's the same old boogeyman story that they use with gun control, health control, or any kind of control they want. You have to guard our citizenship. That has to be next to impossible to strip your citizenship from you. They want you to say, oh, yeah, these are the bad guys, like they did with that, is the kid there, the Muslim kid and his father. Oh, what the hell?
Al-Awlaki.
Yeah, Al-Awlaki, yeah. Him and his kid. All right, the kid was 16 years old, and they said that they could kill him even though he was an American, and they didn't have to give him due process because they had an executive review. Well, that's what they're going to try to pull with your citizenship. All of a sudden, they can take your citizenship because of some sort of a review. Guys, we cannot allow this. I know they are bad guys. I know they are ruthless. But that's the boogeyman.
Do you remember what Jay Carney said when a reporter asked him about that?
No.
He said, well, I guess he was born to the wrong father.
Yes. Yeah, he should have had a better father. So that's a reason that the government can kill a U.S. citizen?
Well, every
Obama
Tuesday,
had a really lousy father, too, and no one's suggesting doing it to him.
Every Tuesday, a lot of us, Obama signs off on people to drone. Citizens or not.
You know, we got to put a stop to this. Like, it should be one step below impossible. And they're going to use this to have people say, yes, please, strip their citizenship. If they can strip one citizen, they can strip all citizens.
Right. Pretty
Remember,
soon
ladies,
they'll be stripping your citizenship because you don't support global warming.
Or you don't buy Obamacare.
Right. RFK just came out, said everybody who is a climate denier should be arrested. Yeah. RFK Jr.
Yeah, that sounds a little tyrannical, don't you think? Real commie right there.
That's
like I said,
prisoners.
They're going to use. That's what those climate people are doing. They're begging for slavery, and that's what they're trying to do here. They're going to. They can't make a law just for one person. Congress shall make no law that specifically targets a person or group. It's one for all, ladies and gentlemen. So you remember that. If you allow them to strip this one citizenship, you're allowing your own citizenship to be on the line too. For whatever reason they decide, it might start out with the bad guys, but you know how it always ends up. Do not allow this. Cuomo. Now, he brought the National Guard to New York as part of a larger security implementation, new security plan, comprehensive. Now we have the military operating in our streets. There is no emergency that we know of. No one has told us that there's any threats, and he even says there's no specific threat. Listen to this story. This is from the Daily News. This Cuomo, he's another commie. Although saying there's no specific threat of a terror attack, Governor Cuomo announced on Friday that he's calling up hundreds of National Guard troops and other personnel to beef up security in New York. Summoning reporters and legislative leaders to his Midtown office, Cuomo said a comprehensive new security plan will be implemented to cover airports, transit hubs, and large gathering points across the region. He declined to give specifics of the plan until he formally unveils it with the New Jersey Governor Chris Christie next week. Cuomo, who's running for re-election, said it's undeniable that New York is a possible target of terrorist activity, either in retaliation or as an offensive gesture. However, he acknowledged that we have no specific threat of terrorist plots. This is just a general precaution, given the obvious situation and obvious facts, Cuomo told reporters. It was Cuomo's second media briefing on security issues in 5 days, activity that comes as he's ramping up his general election campaign. So this guy's calling out the National Guard. There's no specific threat, no emergency, but this guy's going to have military operating on U.S. soil. Now, I know the National Guard. That's definitely abuse of power. That's a good way to put it. And it's misuse of power, misuse of our military, of our National Guard. Now, National Guard used to be for the individual states until they were nationalized and called into active duty even. They were never supposed to see active duty, but they were called in. So now they are considered a federal military force. That's against posse comitatus. If there were an emergency, like a hurricane or whatever, fine, then you need them. But to do security at airports, we have TSA for that.
Well, and now the Texas National Guard are being babysitters. They're going to find lost illegal aliens and escort them over the border. I mean, it's ridiculous. They're not there to stop them.
No.
They're there to make sure they have safe passage.
Right. And did you see that the cartels are saying that if the guys the militias had that protest on Sunday, that it would be a bloodbath?
Oh yeah, that's why they backed out.
Yeah, well, shouldn't that tell you that there's a credible threat right there then? And maybe we should have border security? You know, if the cartels can come out and say, don't hold this protest or there's going to be a bloodbath, well, that just gives you an indication that there could be a bloodbath for whatever other reason they feel like having one. And then they said
society right now.
And then they said that bridge was an international bridge. No, it isn't. It's a United States bridge. It's on United States soil. And it was built by the United States. So that's not an international bridge. It does go internationally, but it's not internationally owned. And they are threatening the militia. And everybody was all freaking out about it, too. Oh, yeah, the militias have guns and stuff. Do you know that the militia has been down on that border all along? They haven't bothered anybody. They haven't shot anybody. Matter of fact, one of them got shot at, and he was on private property with permission from the rancher and got shot at. So the militias are not dangerous. The militia is you and me and your brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles. They're just normal patriot Americans who are trying to make a difference. They're not out there, gung-ho and hot-dogging or any of that. You'd have heard about it by now. Are you kidding me? It would have been all over Daily Cause and Huffington Post and MSNBC if the militia had acted up even a little bit. So, all of a sudden they're going to pull the scare tactics and the cartels are going to threaten. Well, the hell are these cartels? To threaten American citizens on American soil.
Well, they can get away with it. They keep on raising the bar, and nobody stops them. It's just like anything else, just like the government. They do something, and they get very little pushback, so they just do something even worse next time. I mean, it was, Mexican military helicopters that were shooting at people across the border not very long ago.
Yeah. What
happened there? Nothing.
Yeah, one of the Mexican drones ended up on some rancher's property, too. Remember that?
Nope.
And they picked it up and gave it back to them. The feds came and picked it up. Speaking of the feds, DHS, they're crying, too. Oh, boo-hoo. DHS has a high turnover rate, and that's why they can't get anything done. Because the morale is so bad, and people are just leaving. There's an exodus. This is from the Washington Post. An exodus of top-level officials from the Department of Homeland Security is undercutting the agency's ability to stay ahead of a range of emerging threats, including potential terrorist strikes and cyber attacks, according to interviews with current and former officials. Over the past 4 years, employees have left DHS at a rate nearly twice as fast as in the federal government overall, and the trend is accelerating, according to a review of federal database. The departures are a result of what employees widely describe as a dysfunctional work environment, abysmal morale, and the lure of private security companies paying top dollar that have proliferated in Washington since the September 11, 2001 attacks. The department's terrorism intelligence arm, for example, has cycled through 6 directives during the Obama administration, decimating morale and contributing to month-long delays in releasing intelligence reports, according to interviews and government reports. Are you listening to this? This is sickening.
I know.
That month wait for intelligence reports.
Well, they got it's like a revolving door there. Nobody wants to sell out their own country. They get in there and they find out what it's about, and it's a revolving door. There's bigger turnaround than at Walmart.
Yeah.
What for them?
It says, with the country facing a crisis of unaccompanied minors crossing the southwest border in recent months, the pair of DHS agencies responsible for tackling this problem have been hindered by turnover of top officials. U.S. Customs and Border Protection, for instance, had 6 commissioners under Obama, 4 of them in caretaker roles because they were not even confirmed by the Senate. So they couldn't even get anything done. They weren't legally working there, and they weren't confirmed. The TSA, that's another one that DHS had developed, a new agency to enhance airport security. The hemorrhaging of both senior and junior personnel has had tremendous effects. You can't sustain a high level of security operations when you have that kind of turnover, he said.
And they haven't caught one guy yet.
No, TSA never caught anybody yet.
They molest children and old ladies and girls, and they let Muslims walk right on through.
Yeah, we talked about this story before, but there was an older woman. She was like 90-something years old. She had a back brace on. They made the woman stand up out of her wheelchair and take the back brace off. When her son called the cops to say, hey, what the hell are you doing? You're making my crippled mother stand up here out of a wheelchair. You can't just pat her down and wave your wand or whatever. And they said, well, we thought she was wearing a money belt. So what if she was? What if she was? If it was her belt and her money, what difference does it make if she was wearing one or not?
Right. Oh,
so a 97-year-old crippled woman in a wheelchair wearing a brace, and they're going to hassle her? That should probably be one of the least likely terrorists.
That's because it's not about security. It's about training you to be a prisoner. And that's what the Patriot Act did, by the way. It destroyed the Fourth Amendment, It destroyed a lot of the Bill of Rights. I mean, all in the name of security.
It even destroys parent-child relationships, too. You go through your kid's life telling them that no strangers are supposed to touch your privates, and if anybody touches you, come see mommy or daddy, and I'll take care of it, and I'll straighten them out. And then the first thing you do when you get to the airport is hand your kid over to a stranger to get felt up. The kid's just thinking, well, that's a stranger. It's touching my privates, and you're not doing anything.
Yeah, it's okay if they're wearing a uniform. That's what it's teaching them.
Yeah, well...
Teaching them it's okay if they're wearing a uniform.
Yeah, exactly. It's mind control. Unbelievable.
I won't fly anymore. There's no way. You got two choices. You can be molested, or you can go through the radiation machine. What's worse?
Yeah, really.
What do I want? Cancer or be humiliated?
Yeah, I haven't I haven't flown in a long time either. I'm getting a little jealous too. All these people getting naked. I'm going to have to take some naked pictures of myself and send them to the TSA because I'm feeling a little left out here.
Yeah, I think I'll
really,
pass
pretty soon you'll be
one.
able to get your Obamacare health checkup there. All you got to do is have somebody there with a prescription pad, and you're good. You can get a breast X-ray, a prostate exam, all of it.
They buy you dinner first, though.
I know, really. That's the least they could do. Unbelievable. All right, let's talk about the climate commies, and then we'll take a break.
All right.
Over the weekend, Sunday, there was a very large, huge, they had a big turnout of all the usual communist groups and the Acorns and the Soros groups and the Color Revolution. They were all color-coded. Today they had one, too. It was Flood Wall Street, and it was brought to you by the color blue. Everybody was wearing blue today. You remember Soros's color revolutions, the Orange Revolution up in the Ukraine, and down in Kenya they had the ODM, the Orange Democratic Republican. They all wore the orange T-shirts, and the SEIU, they always wear the purple ones, and the Teamsters wear blue. Well, they were color-coded like a kiddie camp. They had all kinds of idols. They had this one idol, and it was an earth goddess, but I forget her name. Like, it began with a C. I'll find it during the commercial break. Kuto or something. And this was like a big rock-looking thing, and it had skulls and a skirt made out of snakes and a necklace made out of human hearts. And this is supposed to be this goddess. It's an Aztec goddess, actually. And these people were bowing down to it in the street. They were right there. Did you ever see, like, in the Bible, they had the pictures of them idolizing the false god, the holy cow, and all the people were all bowed down? That picture in the middle of the street.
That's where that term comes from, by the way.
What?
Holy cow. It comes from them worshiping that golden calf.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly
I know a
what
little
this
bit of
looked
useless
like.
trivia there, but
No, that's all right. I love trivia. But, you know, to see those people bowing down to this idol gave me the creeps. And did you see the rubbish they left behind? Here's this climate march, all right? And clean the planet, save the planet. They finally at least came out and said, you know, it doesn't have so much to do with science as it does with social justice and redistribution and global tax. Here's these people in the middle of the street begging for slavery, global slavery at that. Please tax me. Why? You can't. They couldn't even pick up their own rubbish. They want someone else to do it for them. So they want you to pay taxes. Well, who's the someone else that's going to pick up that trash?
That's they
couldn't even put their rubbish in.
They have no idea what communism is because they're not even taught it in school anymore.
No.
Matter of fact, they're being taught by communists. So.
Yeah, well, this is getting a little ridiculous. I mean, that one woman, at least she was holding a sign saying, I am marching for full communism. All right?
Yeah.
There was one person in the group. And today they powdered up a whole bunch of chalk and they threw it up in the air. They were fighting with the cops. They were trying to push down the barriers to get onto Wall Street. All these little white rich kids beating up on those black cops. What a mess. What a mess. You know, a friend of mine posted, Dave Icke, as a matter of fact, he said, make me a slave protest. Invent a big lie. Call it human-caused climate change as an excuse to transform global society and then get those you wish to enslave to demand that you do it. Well, that's what they did. These people are demanding to be enslaved. You know, they're screaming for more government, and then they're fighting with the cops. Don't they understand those cops are more government?
No, they don't. They don't. They're there getting paid by people like Soros and other lefties, you know, probably a little over minimum wage, and, you know, they don't believe in anything. They're just useful idiots, crowds and crowds of useful idiots.
Yeah, well, they had the usual university drones, and they had all the communist groups, you know, the Acorns and the SEIU and the Teamsters were there, and, of course, RFK Jr. was there. Leonardo DiCaprio was there, too. He arrived on a huge yacht that's owned by the Saudi king. You know, how's your carbon footprint there? Al Gore showed up in a big SUV. The SEIU people, they all showed up in those big diesel buses, 150 of them. You know, it wasn't about climate. Not one bit of it was about climate. Because there's nothing wrong with the climate.
You know, I remember in the 80s,
yeah.
It was right after George H.W. Bush was elected. He was on TV, and he was telling everybody should only have like one light on in their house to save energy. And he was standing there, and you could see about 7,000 lights on his house on the inside, all turned on. And you know, it's all this one group of laws for you, but we're all exempt from it all.
Exactly.
The ruling class versus the slave class. That's all it is.
And that's exactly what they proved again. You know, conservatives conserve every day. You know, if I'm not using a light, if I'm not in a room, the light's off. You know, I conserve water, and I recycle trash, and I reuse, you know, the Tupperware containers and stuff from the restaurants and things. I conserve money that way. So,
well, these rich liberals don't have to. They trade their car in when the ashtray's full. They still buy another one.
You know, and you would never, ever see that type of filth and trash and debris at a tea party.
At a tea party convention.
No, because those people conserve every day. I was at a tea party once, and it was right over at the waterfront, so everybody brought tea bags. We didn't throw them in the water, of course, because that would be detrimental to the fish and the sea life. You know, we said, yay, tea party and all that, and, you know, did all the openings and singing and stuff. Then we all threw the tea bag up in the air, and they landed on the ground. Then we bent over and picked the tea bags up and put them in the trash.
Yeah.
You know, it was symbolic.
Like civilized people do, but not these
Yeah.
people. And those people at that march in New York that's complaining about how the evils of capitalism, they're the first ones in line to buy an iPhone 6.
Yeah. 10 million iPhone 6s were sold over the weekend, but probably a lot of them to those kids. And that's another thing, too. Those kids were wearing shoes that were made from animal hide or petroleum products, sunglasses. They all had their iPads and their telephones, and, you know, they were drinking Starbucks coffee and eating McDonald's. And if you see the rubbish, every bit of it has some sort of a logo. Even the climate change stuff, the regular cups, were saying Save the Planet on them, and they were all over the place, the little paper cups that they had. I saw Tropicana labels, and like I said, Starbucks and McDonald's and Burger King and Five Brothers Burgers. And, I was studying it, Pepsi bottles and cans and Nestle's bottled water. Those are all corporations. You know, they weren't wearing jackets that they wove themselves and then sewed together themselves. They weren't wearing shoes that they had made out of whatever recyclable products. They didn't do any of that. They all showed up like a bunch of frat party, all these lily liberals, and they were marching for socialism and communism and capitalism. That's pretty much what most of the signs said, was capitalism was the biggest enemy, while they're sitting there sucking down a Starbucks coffee.
Right, and talking on their iPhone.
Yeah,
I know, they don't
talking
even
on
know
their
what
iPhone.
it is. But they're not taught it, so what do you expect,
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. All right, let's take our quick commercial break. Everybody go get something to drink. Anna, thank you for sticking around. I see that you're going to head out. Thank you again, hon. And we'll be right back. A couple of minutes. And we are back live. You're listening to Moretti Underground, the Liberty Report, right here at PRN Radio Network, the exclusive home of the Watchmen of America program. I'm Joanne Moretti, and my great co-host, Scott Ferrarello. Ferrarello. Like I keep saying it like Cigarello. Ferrarello. Is here with me, too. I'm Italian, I should know this, but it looks like Ferrarello to me. So I keep putting it that way, and I know it's Ferrarello.
There you go. You'll get it.
Yeah, a little practice.
Yours is easy,
anyhow. Yep.
Because it's on
Scott
beer.
Rello's with me. We got some financial stuff going on. We got some IRS stuff going on too. I want to talk to you about Lois Lerner. Do you know this woman who pled the Fifth did an interview with Politico over the weekend and told everybody she wasn't sorry, and she thinks she did a wonderful job?
Why should she be? She's making $100,000 just to be sitting on vacation. You know that?
Yep.
She's getting $100,000.
Yeah, $100,000. She's suspended with pay. And she pled the Fifth. Shouldn't her pay be suspended too until we get this straightened out? Well,
yeah.
From Fox News, it says, former IRS official Lois Lerner, the central figure in a scandal involving the federal agency, is breaking her silence, saying she's not sorry and maintaining she didn't do anything wrong, despite widely documented evidence that her division targeted conservative groups for extra scrutiny. The former head of the tax-exempt unit, speaking with Politico, gave her first media interview since the scandal broke 16 months ago. She has twice refused to answer questions before Congress, but used the interview to publicly assert her innocence. Why will she talk to Politico but not talk to the Oversight Committee, I wonder? It says here that she resigned amid the scandal, spoke at length with Politico, which also spoke to about 20 co-workers and friends in a comprehensive 3,837-word story on Lerner and the events around the scandal. The profile-style piece at times paints her in a sympathetic light, including personal anecdotes ranging from how she baked brownies for staff to how she put her babysitter's son through college. However, Lerner, who was joined in the interview by her corporate lawyer husband, Michael Miles, and two personal lawyers, is not quoted extensively in the piece. Her on-the-record comments mainly address her claims that she simply was doing her job and has no regrets. I'm proud of my career and the job I did for this country, the 63-year-old learner, who was also a lawyer, said in the roughly 2-hour interview. The American Center for Law and Justice, which represents dozens of conservative groups that have filed suit against the IRS, blasted Lerner's comments in a written statement on Monday. Lois Lerner's comments about the IRS scandal are nothing more than the first step in a faulty strategy to rehabilitate her public image, Jay Sekulow, the group's chief counsel, said. Sekulow said her remarks reflect an arrogance that was present during her involvement in the unlawful scheme to target conservatives. In the article, Lerner also asserts that she's not a political person. She reportedly has voted for Republicans and Democrats. As for the decision to plead the Fifth on Capitol Hill, Lerner claimed that allowed critics to say anything they wanted, and they knew I couldn't say anything back. Is that a bunch of hogwash or what?
Well, they can do whatever they want, and they know it.
Yeah.
You know?
She says that she's at the center because it was her who announced it.
No,
so, and we have to worry about her. You're right. It says here the article stresses that Lerner has paid heavily for legal bills, and despite receiving $100,000 a year pension, has had trouble getting work elsewhere. The article described her as untouchable in the job market. You get $100,000 a year, honey. How many jobs you need? All she got to do is go to the mailbox or the bank. She doesn't even have to go to work for $100,000.
No, it's just ridiculous. There's just no accountability. Nobody gets in trouble. You know,
you're right.
Nixon resigned over less.
You know, meanwhile, while the IRS was jerking around with conservatives, right? Do you know they paid out $5.2 billion in fraudulent refunds last year?
Yep.
Just the 1 year, $5.2 billion in fraudulent identity theft refunds.
Probably all
it says
Democrats.
Here that it says they sent $3.3 million in refunds to a single address. I wish they'd send them to my single address.
Yeah. Well, maybe you should get a P.O. box and call it Acorn.
Yeah, really. Identity theft. You know, I got to tell you something about identity theft, too. That's going on down here in Florida. You know that healthcare.gov was hacked. Everybody knows that. The health department down here in Charlotte County was on the government the website on their network, and they got hacked too. Everybody who was a patient at the health department got a letter stating that their information was hacked. And every doctor who ever treated a person who was at the health department or who takes Obamacare was also hacked. I personally know somebody who went onto Craigslist, you know, the job seeking, and there was a job to work at a doctor's office. This girl is a phlebotomist and a medical assistant, so she was applying for this job at a doctor's office. She was corresponding back and forth with this woman. Her name was Becker, I believe. And there really is a Becker at the office, too. But she was corresponding back and forth with this Becker, and they were asking her for information, you know, what you did and, you know, all of that. And she was giving them the information, thinking she was talking to the doctor's office. And then she didn't hear anything back from them. So she called the doctor's office. The doctor said, the woman who answered the phone, rather, said, "This is Becca, and I don't remember talking to you. I haven't corresponded with you." So she had to go down to the doctor's office, and she had saved all the text messages and the emails and stuff. And she showed them to this woman, Becca, who was the office supervisor, and the doctor. That's when they realized they also had been hacked, too. So now, not only has the doctors and stuff been hacked, but this woman who was applying for a job has just sent her resume with all her information off to God knows who.
Right. And including Social Security number.
Mm-hmm. Social Security number, birth date, address, everything. Everything about the girl. It's on a resume. So now her information has to be protected. You know, healthcare.gov, are you kidding me? $750 million for $1 million website that doesn't work. And they're more interested in this.
Isn't that one of Michelle Obama's friends, too, that was in charge of that?
Yes. Yep. And, they're more interested in this stupid political crap of going after conservatives than they are on going after these hackers, on going after this $5.2 billion in fraudulent refunds. $3.3 million that went to a single address. That didn't raise any red flags in your computer.
That's all it is.
It sure was. $5.2 billion worth of laundering. That's an awful heavy load.
Yeah, that's good. How did we get in on that? I mean, we got to turn into liberals?
I don't know.
No thanks.
Yeah, well, somebody walked away the winner, and who gets stiffed for that?
Taxpayer,
as usual. Yeah. Now, Obama thinks he can crack down on companies that are moving overseas. When you're charging 40% in corporate tax, businesses are going to go look around for a better deal. They are not St. Francis. They didn't start a business so that they could be a social service agency. They leave that to the welfare department. They go in business to make money for themselves, money for their shareholders, money for their employees, and deliver a product. So now they're the bad guy. The guy out there trying to hire people and trying to make a few bucks for himself and his shareholders. All right, they're the bad guys now. I don't know if they think that you're supposed to take every dime that you have, invest it in a business, and then lose money. I have uncles who are liberals, and I was talking with one of them, and I was saying, well, you can't give McDonald's employees $15 an hour, because then you're going to have to charge $15 for the burger. Then you have to take into consideration the overhead, the permitting, the licensing, the taxes, the fees, the payroll. And then if the guy walks away with a couple of bucks in his pocket after paying off everybody, that's why he went into business. So my uncle says, well, paying them the minimum wage that it is now, what is it, like almost $8, they can't make a living. That's not a living wage. I said, so how's that McDonald's fault? McDonald's puts out an ad to apply for a job. They didn't go out there and last and drag you in. Say it again, Scott. I'm sorry, I talked over you.
No, I'm just saying all the jobs are gone. I mean, when you have the highest corporate tax rate in the world, everybody's going to go somewhere else where they don't have to pay all those taxes and give them free health care and everything else. I mean, Ross Perot, we told us way back in the 90s that this was going to happen. He said you're going to hear a big sucking sound, and it's going to be all the jobs that are going overseas and going to Mexico. And, of course, you had Al Gore saying, no, Larry, it's a good deal. Well, it wasn't a good deal. It was a bad deal.
Well, now the communist government that we have is going to crack down on companies going overseas, leaving the country. When you go over the board, even General Motors opened up offices and facilities in Mexico because they're offering a 20% rate instead of a 40% rate. And so is Canada. They're offering like a 19% corporate rate, and Ireland's offering 12%. But we want 40%.
This only really affects small companies. I mean, you know, and they do it on purpose. It's to destroy the middle class, destroy the little mom and pop shop, so it all goes to big box stores like Walmart, who's already overseas, and who gets big, huge tax gets tax breaks, corporate welfare, and then they kick back contributions to the politicians who cut them all the breaks.
Well, I think you're absolutely right, because GM went to Mexico with Obama's blessing. They even had a little trade deal that they made. And that was an American company that the American taxpayers bailed out. Same with General Electric. Jeff Immelt was on Obama's Jobs Council. And he moved to China with Obama's blessing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, well, now this one here from the Associated Press says, The Obama administration is cracking down on American companies that seek to reincorporate overseas to avoid paying U.S. taxes. In a so-called tax inversion, a U.S. business merges with or is acquired by a foreign company in a country with a lower tax rate. The Treasury Department says it's putting forward regulations that will make inversion less lucrative by barring some techniques companies use to defer their taxes. It's also making it harder for companies to pursue an inversion by tightening the requirements that the company's former owner owns less than 80% of the new company. Treasury Secretary Jacob Lew says the steps will ensure that it's no longer financially beneficial for companies to use that tactic. The new measure will take effect immediately. Are you kidding me? These are regulations. These aren't even laws. No Congress involved whatsoever. Just, he's going to crack down on companies moving out. That's holding people hostage, don't you think?
Yeah, but I don't even see him doing that. He's just trying to shake them down.
Yeah, well,
if they're big enough to be shaken down, he'll let them go. But if they're not, he'll put them out of business.
Yeah, but these people know zero about how finances and companies and businesses work. At least Romney would have known this much. If you lower the tax rate, you're going to poach these companies from the other countries. They're going to start flocking here. You're going to have more jobs than you know what to do with if you lower the tax rate. And all those employees are going to be paying taxes, and the property taxes, and the corporate rate, even if you only charge them 15% or 20%. You're losing 20% of businesses that are barely making it. If you lower it to 20%, you're going to be drawing more businesses in, so you're going to make up with it. With every one that comes in, you're saving two companies. They don't understand that.
I think they do understand that, and they're doing it on purpose. They've been doing it on purpose for 30 years or more.
Yeah, well, that's causing the Russians and the BRICS to dump the dollar. The Rockefellers and all these other hedge funds, they're all divesting too. You know what they're doing? Every month, $87 billion is pumped into the stock market. That's called quantitative easing. They say it's $40 billion, but then they have a $40 billion backup. So it's $80 billion per month that's getting pumped into these banks on Wall Street. Once that money goes in and everybody sees that the stock market raises, people start investing because they know that the market's on the climb. Once they start investing and they put the money out, all of a sudden it drops. That's because these hedge funds, like Soros and Rockefeller and all of them, they are taking that money right off the top, the money that they had put in. So every dollar that goes in, they're skimming it back out. But they're not keeping the dollars. What they're doing is buying gold with it and keeping the gold. So that's devaluing the dollar right in front of you. Matter of fact, there's somebody on our phone who can explain all this. I'm going to open up this microphone because our financial guru is here. Ladies and gentlemen, you all know Carol from last season. Carol, welcome.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you. Hey, Scott, I'm so glad to know that you're on the radio show now. And all, but getting to this tactic of devaluating the dollar and leaving the dollar. Let me put this straight, which I have butted heads with a lot of people trying to explain this, because the faux news has stated that China will be the global reserve currency. That is not true. In documents from Brookings Institute and Chatham House, and even our own government has stated that China is working with the United States and all the other countries to have a basket of currencies, which is IMF SDR, special drawing rights. Now, George Soros had spoken about, and it's on YouTube, about China becoming part of the New World Order. and the new global currency should be special drawing rights. Before 2009, when everybody started hearing about him, I was listening to that imp and on his lectures at the European universities, which was satellite dish over here to our universities, speaking of the global governance, the new currency, special drawing rights, and how it would benefit each country. No, it's not going to benefit us little serfs at all. It's going to only benefit those countries with the political agenda and all, but it's not to destroy the dollar. The dollar will be still in that basket of currency, and I can prove it tonight to you. Another thing I want to clear up. A lot of people say, well, Rothschild's not involved in this. Yes, he is, and I'll prove that also. I'm going to read you a little something from a U.S.-China joint fact sheet 6th meeting of the Strategic and Economic Dialogue, dated July the 7th, 2014. It says both sides, meaning the United States and China, commit to implement our G20 commitments to move rapidly toward a more market-determined exchange rate system and greater exchange rate flexibility to reflect underlying fundamentals, avoid persistent exchange rate misalignment, and refrain from competitive devaluation. To enhance data transparency, China is making technical preparations with the International Monetary Fund for subscription to the spatial data dissemination standard. The United States and China commit to further strengthening the macroeconomic communication and cooperation and discuss important economic policies with each other in a timely manner. It says the United States and China commit to continue strengthening their cooperation in the MIF and G20, improving the IMF's quota and governance structure, ensuring the completion of the 15th General Quota Review, reaching a final agreement on a new quota formula, and further enhancing the voice of emerging markets and developing countries. The United States commits to complete the domestic approval of the 2010 IMF quota and governance reforms as soon as possible. The two sides reaffirm the importance of maintaining a strong and adequate resource IMF. Now then, let me prove to everybody that Rothschild is involved in this. Okay, during this meeting that they had, during this meeting that they had, the People's Bank of China Governor Zhou Exon, I guess is how you pronounce it. I'm not good with Chinese names. And the Federal Reserve, Janet Yellen, were both participants in that meeting. All right, now then, get this. The Chinese Bank of China governor is also on the executive board of the Bank for International Settlements. The Bank for International Settlements is Rothschild.
Yes, it is. As a matter of fact, I did a report on that. I've been taking notes here. This special drawing rights, you say that they're going to have a change rate. So that fits into what Scott was just saying. If they bring down our economy, our dollar is only worth what our economy is. And then special drawing rights, that sounds like what the Federal Reserve has with our Federal Reserve notes, otherwise known as dollars. So,
but let me put it this way.
So are they going to bypass the Federal Reserve?
The U.S. dollar will no longer be the global reserve currency. It will be SDR, special drawing rights.
Yeah, they were talking about the renminbi.
Right. It's going to be, there's going to be several countries that are going to have this basket of currencies where the IMF or these countries can borrow from that basket of currencies. So yes, we're going to lose the status as the reserve global currency.
Right, and it'll be a basket currency. And it'll still be in existence, but it won't be worth what it is. You know, another thing, too, that in that article that you mentioned, all right, you spoke of macroeconomic macroeconomics. Macro financing. That's what Grameen Bank and Unius was doing when Obama's mother was working for him, and Tim Geithner's father was working for them through the Ford Foundation at Grameen Bank. That's how long this has been planned. Hillary Clinton.
And also at the 2009 G20 meeting, the Telegraph Daily, UK newspaper, covered that agenda. I was watching that. Right, I was watching that very closely. Tax cheat Tim busted the story to the Telegraph Daily, stating the United States did not have any problem of having a new currency. Well, from what the article stated, quote, the U.S. politicians had a fit. You know, they weren't aware about it. But I do believe they were, because this has been going on. I found documents of a gentleman who testified before the Senate in 1967. His last name was Ball. I've got the document. I had posted on Facebook, had even posted it on Moretti Report.
I saw it.
Right, where he even spoke of a new currency. The Economist, which is a magazine which is connected to the Council of Foreign Relations, had an article in 1988 concerning a new global currency. And they said within 30 years, which that makes it 2018.
Yeah, well, just this little information right here, Carol. This information right there that you've given me, that tells me that Hillary Clinton is going to be our next president. It's already in the basket. Because this is also Hillary's life work. And she admired Unius. And the Clinton Global Initiative is into the macro financing. So this is her life's work, too, coming to fruition.
Right. And if you remember, Joanne, do you remember reading an article that I had posted about, let's see, what is it, Lady Rothschild here in New York was supposed to be giving Hillary's daughter's mother-in-law a fundraising party. And she didn't show up. It turned out it was Hillary that was there. And then I had found another article where the Rothschilds supported Hillary. So there's a lot of money.
Hey, I hear you.
I know. I need to interrupt. ABC just came in and broke in on the TV that we have just attacked ISIS airstrikes. I'm looking for it now, but it was just an ABC that broke into the TV, and that's what they just said. So I'm looking now. I just want to make y'all aware of that.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that breaking news. Airstrikes. Now, I told you they're going to make those pilots commit treason.
Right. And let me say something else. Brzezinski wrote a book, and in that book he told of Eurasia. Eurasia is the Middle East. He said in that book that he wrote, and all the grand chessboard, whoever controls the natural resources in that area would be supremacy, and all would have, total supremacy. And he was talking about the United States.
Yeah, well, this all explains why Rockefeller is divesting and all these hedge funds are divesting now. The Rockefellers say that they're getting out of oil. Well, you know what? That's a bunch of crap, too. They are investing in alternative energy because they know that's where the billions and billions of funds is coming from. Just think of Cylinder and how much money was going around then.
Right.
So they want a piece of that.
If you will look, if you will type in and do a search for CERES, CERES, which they've been having summits at the United Nations since 2001, which I have been following them. This year, it has on their website, if you look for 2014 Investor Summit on Climate Risk, if you scroll down on the right-hand side, summit attendees included. And Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, Barclays, which is a bank in UK, all these, Bloomberg New Energy, Rothschild, I mean, all these, including AFL-CIO and SEIU. So, it is I mean, even the German bank, Deutsche Bank.
Yeah, Deutsche Bank. Yeah.
Right. I guess that's how, I mean, all these, here we go with even churches, Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. They're all investing in this green, here you go, General Motors.
Right.
And all. They are all investing in this green energy business. I think it was in 2008, Soros headed that summit. All right, Hillary Clinton had a representative from her department when she was Secretary of State, and Al Gore was even at that meeting. So all this has been planned really well. Matter of fact, here it is, HRH, the Prince of Wales, International
all these
Sustainability Unit.
And all these, like Soros, how much of his portfolio is oil, especially like Brazil's oil there, Petrobras. All right, he's big invested in that. The Rothschilds, they are Standard Oil. All right, so there's something. What's happening here is the government's going to stop subsidizing oil, and they're going to start subsidizing the green energy, and these people are getting in on it.
That's right, and it's a scam, y'all. It is nothing to only fleece all of us taxpayers in this country, because public-private partnership, which they talk immensely about, is public money and private money. In other words, these private companies, these banks and stuff will put in an amount, and then we'll turn around and put in an amount. And if I wanted to invest in something, give me the opportunity to make a choice of what I wanted to invest in. Don't force me through my tax money, putting me into something that I don't believe in.
Well, that's what I was just going to tell you. The nation's largest union pension funds is now divesting too. $300 billion in assets, and they're going to lose their pensions. Carol, I want to thank you for calling in, my dear.
Don't hang up. Wait. Don't hang up yet, Carol. Hold on. Let me just give you all an update. I'm having trouble finding everything, but it's fighters, bombers, and Tomahawk missiles used against ISIS in Syria. Airstrikes in Syria and Arab states apparently taking part. It's just all been in the last 15 minutes. So I'm trying to piece it together, but it looks like
is Putin going to
first Tomahawk? I don't know. It just started happening like in 10 or 15 minutes. Hang on. First Tomahawks have been fired in Syria. I'm on Twitter now trying to piece it together. I mean, this is like really breaking, like 15 minutes.
Right. Well, let me say this. After Syria, most likely the next country will be Jordan. That's what I'm predicting next. And
you're absolutely right.
Before I hang up, let me say this. I broke the news today, and if you remember, they are planning also, the International Monetary Fund was talking about taking our pensions and putting into infrastructures. All right, everybody needs to go to America 2050 and do a search for Social Security pensions, because that was taught on that website. America 2050 is funded through the back door of Rockefeller Foundation.
So
it is.
We've been telling people that for 3 years.
Yes,
but let me say one more thing, because I'm fixing to have to go. There's 5 Arab states. I do not know which 5. 5 Arab states are participating in this airstrike.
Oh my God!
It's all breaking.
I can't believe we went into Syria.
I don't know details about that.
I don't have any details. This is like boom, boom, boom breaking. I'm on Twitter just trying to put it
because
together.
The natural pipelines are going in from Syria, and Syria made a deal with Russia. So this is going to be very interesting, y'all. We need to pray for each other. I'm not going to say pray for this country, because this country is full of communistic agenda.
Well, I'm going to pray for my country. I'm going to pray for my country, because we're still... But anyway, neither here nor there. This is like breaking 15 minutes.
Yep. Guys, I'm really concerned about this because...
Well, listen, I'll hang up so y'all can get right off to the story. But I hope I helped.
You don't have to hang up. I just jumped in to tell you what was going on.
That's all right.
So,
I'm trying to clear up some of this stuff.
I didn't mean to interrupt your deal, Carol.
No,
but
Lord,
I'm glad
I am glad that you told us about this, because I have been waiting on pins and needles to see what was going to develop pretty soon.
Actually, I thought it would have been last weekend, but
I did too.
Yeah,
well, you and I had talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
That we thought it would be Friday around 9 o'clock, or whenever the night that he gave his address to the country.
Yeah.
Concerning
and look, don't anybody say my name. I'm not supposed to be talking politics.
No, we're not. I said, don't you remember? You?
Well, no, it's breaking news, but it's breaking news. My name's not out there. But listen, I tried to cut in over get Joanne to open my mic over the guy jumping the White House fence with the 800 rounds of ammo in his trunk and all that junk, and that's not unusual in the South. I'm not going to tell you what's in the trunk of my car, but for God's sake, I don't have 800 rounds. But, I have, it's the South. You might need to go squirrel hunting or something.
Deer hunting.
I go skeet shooting. I've got 28 skeet shooting rounds in the trunk of my car, for God's sake. Anyway, but Joanne wouldn't open my mic back then, so I just had to throw that in there.
Sorry.
Joanne, that girl.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I enjoyed listening to you, and thanks for the break. Thanks for the news break.
I'm just going to have to go. But I just want to say this. Scott and Joanne, y'all are one hell of a team. Y'all are good.
True.
Y'all are really, really good.
We all are. We're all on the same team, guys. We're all colleagues. I'm really concerned right now because I think that we might have just started World War III.
No,
that's
probably did, and I think why Scott is not talking, he's probably looking. Well,
yeah, he's probably looking around to see what's going on.
No, I'm just smart enough.
Wait,
I'm just smart enough to shut up when there's 3 women in the room.
I hired Scott this afternoon for investigating reporting.
Yeah, breaking news changes everything, especially World War III breaking out
yes,
news. What do you think, Putin?
Yes.
Putin's not going to sit there.
I don't know.
Still.
There's nothing on Twitter about Putin. I'm telling y'all, it's just been 15 minutes. It's like boom.
Yeah, well,
I know you don't think Joanne.
We need to pray for our military because I hate the thoughts of possibly losing hundreds, thousands of our boys and girls. And I'm hoping, that's what's so bad, and we don't know what we'll be looking into next week in the crystal ball.
Yeah,
I honestly thought it would happen yesterday because he was at Camp David, because remember, he never goes to Camp David, and to me, the only reason he would have gone to Camp David for the week is because he's got the secondary command center there.
Right, yeah, that's right. You're right.
I just posted something in our group. You want to see it?
Okay.
Well, this
all right,
is
I'm going to let y'all have it. All right, I'm going to be
talking about it.
Go.
All right, if you need to jump in, please do, Ida. And, Carol, I want to thank you very, 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 very much for calling in tonight.
Well, I hope I was some help tonight because I have been very frustrated about, trying to explain on Facebook, and I had even posted the documents, but trying to get people to read those documents is like pulling an eye tooth, and I'm not a dentist. So
I read them. I read the
2050
one.
Cleared it up.
Yeah, you did. You did a good job, too. Guys, we're screwed. And, this money thing, they're talking about taking your pensions now and moving them into other things like alternative energy. You know how well that went with Belinda. Yeah, with all that money that...
They can do whatever they want now. I mean, let's face it, this is nothing. We were at one time, and a lot of people might not agree with me, but if you think about it, our tax monies were going into roads that everybody shared, into the court system everybody shared. We were part of a socialist agenda, just a small bit. Now from socialism you go to communism, and that's where we're heading.
Well,
yeah, you know what else, too? Oh, go ahead.
Even the income tax alone, the income tax, when that was created in 1913, that's right out of the Communist Manifesto.
Yes, it is.
You're not supposed to tax someone's income.
No.
I mean, they took care of roads locally with taxes from, whatever they from food tax and whatever else they had, and sales tax. And when the government starts taking a little bit and there's no pushback, they just take more and more and more.
Yeah,
it was supposed to be temporary. Remember that?
Right. I had read a prediction the other day where they said that our income tax, we could even have a hike of over 50% of our income going into the government before this is over with.
It'll be like France. I mean, look
yeah,
at France.
it will be like France. That's right.
Yeah. It's going to be more like Cyprus, because remember back to Corzine and Diamond. Remember when Corzine robbed the farmers, right?
Right.
The farmers had the money in his company, and he took the money and gave it over to Jamie Dimon to make a deal, and the deal fell through, so then the money was lost. The farmers tried suing Corzine, and a ruling came down that when you put your money in the bank, it's no longer yours.
It's no longer yours.
Theirs.
That's right. Everybody remember that. When you put money in the bank, it is no longer yours. It is invested into other, like people building houses, on the low interest, which that's going to eventually go up and all. But it leaves from your bank and gets scattered all over this country and even over this world before it's over with. One more thing I want to bring up. The International Monetary Fund will take the place of the Federal Reserve. Our government passed a bill last week, supposed to be going through Senate, and I'm pretty sure it will probably pass, where they're going to audit the Federal Reserve. This is going to give the opportunity for the Department of Treasury and our government to separate away from the Federal Reserve, the International Monetary Fund to step in. All right,
that was the point I was trying to make. With the special drawing rights.
Right. The International
SCI.
Monetary Fund, LaGuardia had mentioned months ago, back during the summer, that she would even consider moving the International Monetary Fund over to China. But there's nothing else that has been discussed about this. But China is going to be the number one powerhouse. And James Wolfson, who is a retired president of the World Bank, gave a lecture at Stanford Business concerning this. And if I might be exaggerating on the numbers because it's been a while since I've read his lecture, but he said something about like 80% would be China, 30% would be the developed countries. Well, we're part of that developed countries. So,
and also, you remember you heard it here. And remember, everybody, you heard it here, September 22nd, 2014. Hillary Clinton will be our next president. This is in the cards. This is her baby. The microfinancing, the IMF, the Clinton Global Initiative, the Bank for International Settlements, every bit of it has her fingerprints on it. Every bit of it.
It does. It does. And with the Rothschilds financing, and they have got tons of money. They can
and they're
barter,
also Clinton
they can
supporters.
lobby. Right. They can buy votes. I mean, they can do whatever they want to. And really, honest to God help us if she becomes president, because we think we've got it bad now. We're going to have really a clampdown because she is 100% progressive, which is communist.
I
still think it's going to be Jeb Bush, and it's going to be no different.
Right. Jeb Bush is the same way. He is communist, too. He's a progressive communist.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you right now, Hillary Clinton. It has to be the macro financing, the macroeconomics, the IMF. It goes all the way back to Yunus, and then you have all the players in place. You have Yellen, you have Lagarde, and you all know how Lagarde got in there. The Clinton Initiative, the Global Foundation, the Bank for International Settlements, the Export-Import Banks. We did a whole report on that. And here it is.
And you can also go to the International Monetary Fund, and you will see World Bank, and the United Nations. So all these, communist organizations are tied into one big glob, and all. But like I said, I hope tonight I helped, on this for people to understand what is happening, and. Maybe, something else will come up, and I'll call y'all again. But anyway, y'all have a good night, and y'all make a wonderful team.
Okay, you too, hon. Thank you.
All right.
Good night. Carol,
All right.
thank you.
Carol.
Ladies and gentlemen, Carol. She is one of the best financial gurus I've ever met. All right, we only have a couple of more minutes left here. I wanted to talk to you about this enterovirus. 14 states have now reported that they have enterovirus. It spreads very quickly. As of Wednesday, both Minnesota and New Jersey have confirmed cases of the severe virus, the enterovirus 68. Officials say Alabama, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Missouri, New York, Oklahoma, and Pennsylvania together have 130 lab-confirmed cases. So, there's also suspected cases in Georgia, Michigan, Ohio, and, probably Florida. So a child in Minnesota told Chief Nursing Officer Roxanne Fernandez that it felt like he had an elephant sitting on his chest. This is putting kids in the hospital. It's very, very bad.
They're releasing everything but the kitchen sink.
Yep.
And we lead thing on Drudge right now. It says over 1 million Ebola cases by the end of January.
Yes. We're coming up with Ebola, too. U.S. troops. All right. 3,000 of our troops are going over there into an Ebola-infested West Africa. There is absolutely nothing they can do. They said that they're going to be giving out supplies. Well, how do you know the person that they're handing them to isn't infected? They come to pick up the supplies. They were in the hot zone to deliver the first ones, right? So when they come back to pick up the second supplies, they're going to infect our soldiers. Not only is he abusing our military, he's misusing our military. Morale is so bad that a Navy SEAL came on TV last week and said 90% of the military does not support Obama. That's good for us, for the opposition, but it's not good for the country. All right? 90% of the military does not support Obama. That's a very serious thing. Can you imagine? I mean, he's been abusing them. He's been degrading them at every opportunity and every chance he gets, and now he's doing this crap. I can't believe it. In Louisiana, a ship from Liberia docked in there. Now, this ship had a whole bunch of sick crew members. They brought that ship in, they took the crew members off and sent them to different hospitals around Louisiana before they even knew what they were sick from. So, they're not doing that right either. They're bringing that stuff in here.
Yep.
Why would they do that?
I'll make as many of us sick as possible, and they can do what that other country's doing.
Yeah, well, it turned out that those people on board had malaria. They had malaria, but malaria is contagious too. It says that you can get it. Well, some people can get it in utero. They're born with it. Others, sharing blood, needles. So what are they, a bunch of needle junkies running the ship, and they got malaria? Or, did one mosquito infect all of them? Something's wrong with that story, too.
But look at all the viruses just being unleashed all at once.
Yeah, now you all know about Sierra Leone. They're on lockdown, but Venezuela.
That's the one I was trying to think of. Yeah, they have medical martial law there right now, and they're hunting down people in their houses like fugitives. Right, and then they're putting them all into a place where there's other people. Now, they don't know if they're infected or not. And then people are trying to escape, so, they're running off into other places. They're scattering, which makes it even worse. And then in Venezuela, there's 9 cases of hemorrhagic fever down there. 9 people have died so far. And they don't know what the disease is, whether it's a bacteria or a virus. And it says it's going to be determined by the test results that were sent last week. They should have had those results back. It takes 3 to 5 days. But the health authorities haven't said anything yet there. So I'm thinking there's 9 cases of Ebola down there, probably more now. If they're not telling you, then something's up. How did it get to Venezuela? Was there Ebola martyrs or something bring it there? Or, how did it get to Venezuela? All right, you got any closing comments for our guests tonight? No,
Scott?
that's it.
Well, that was easy. Well, say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's my wonderful new co-host, Scott, and I hope you really enjoy the show. It's nice to have a guy around here. Gives somebody with a deeper voice than mine.
Really. All right, guys, that's all the time we have today, and we hope you enjoyed our show. Remember, we're here every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time.